Sheesh. Yeah, big time. Number 9. Diamonds in my teeth. I got a lot of shine.
Hey, everybody. We got that NFL intro again. I'm going to work on getting that fixed, but we are live. I want to show you the whiteboard. It doesn't. There it goes. There it shows. That whiteboard is my rundown to keep us on track today because I've got a pretty hard stop time at 5:15. But we got people piling in. Welcome aboard, DFS Army MLB pre-lock show. I will introduce Razzle here in a second, but I want to at least give you guys a really, really quick rundown of what to expect. All 12 of you for now. But come on, get your friends in here. Let's go. We have, an 11 game. It was a 12 game slate. It's an 11 game slate now with Coors being gone. That was the next question is Coors on the slate? The answer is obviously no. There's like some 80% postponed chance through the weather station tab at DFS Army. And we have, I guess, one other trouble spot that's not in the main. It's Texas and Boston. But other than that, it looks like a pretty clean slate. 5+ implied run total teams. There's only 4. Detroit was the 5th, but now it's down to Atlanta, Minnesota, Kansas City, and the former Oakland Athletics. And the reason I bring that up is because there's a high correlation usually between ownership and IRT. So if you just want a quick way to find some chalk, you can usually find those high IRTs. So anything over a 5 is usually an environment that I'm going to point out and pay attention to. But without further ado, we're going to dive into Razzle, his thoughts. We're going to talk pitching. We're going to talk hitting. We're going to make some dong calls. We're going to let DS build a lineup for us today, and that is based on the Twitter polling that I did earlier today. So hopefully you follow us at DFS Army out on Twitter. And then we're going to include the VIP challenge. And the VIP challenge, the way I want the VIP challenge to go is I want you guys fighting for a spot to kick Razzle's ass and mine. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to submit a lineup through Discord, through our VIP Discords at some point during the day, hopefully later so that I see it. If not, tag me, DM me, whatever. Make sure I see it. We will pick one for the day, and that will go up against Razzle's lineup and mine, and you have to beat us both. If you can beat us both, then you get credit for the VIPs and the DFS Army members, and we're going to see who can beat who through the next few weeks here. If you embarrass us, I will pull the challenge. We won't do it anymore. If you do really, really well, though, I will actually go petition Geek to start giving out some swag for some victories. And that's what I really, really want is this show to be something you guys fight for chances, fight for shout-outs, fight for submitting lineups, fight for all that good stuff, and share it with your friends. Razzle, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing good. A little behind schedule for my personal builds and stuff, but not too bad. Feel decent about the pitching, not so much on the stack.
Oh, well, that'll be kind of fun because let's start with the pitching. Let's do the good news before the bad news. And our chalk pitcher today in the ownership column is Chris Sale. So that's going to be one of your cash game pitchers on DraftKings for sure. But I'm going to have Razzle give you who he would pivot to for GPPs if he's not using Sale. And I want him to give us a kind of a lower priced punt that he thinks could wind up in the winning lineup, somebody that has some potential like that. Razzle, take it away and give me your pivots because I can do the chalk cash stuff. I'm going to leave you with the GPP stuff.
I mean, I have a couple pivots in mind. Off of Sale, like for me, the pivot's going to be down to Seth Lugo. Like nobody's going to him. He's 100 cheaper than Sale, but the White Sox lineup dropped without Luis Robert. It's going to end up being a pivot. And then a pivot off of even Zach Wheeler, who's not far behind Sale in ownership, is actually going to be Michael King against the Yankees. Everybody's afraid to use pitching against the Yankees. It is volatile, but Michael King's one of those guys that has enough nastiness to him that he could certainly lead the slate in strikeouts. When it comes to cheaper guys that could be in the winning lineup, I don't really absolutely love any of the cheap guys. But since I do like the weather in Chicago for pitching more than hitting, one of the guys that's in my pool is going to be Colin Ray for the Cubs, taking on the Giants.
Nice. I'm going to try and type that in to jam that thing into chat because I'm not quick enough. And get that fired up for everybody else. I like how this is going to go really, really quickly. I've got in the background, I've got the starting lineups. We might walk through a little bit of that, but let's dive into the hitters first because I noticed some names like Jonathan India, Bobby Witt. Those guys are going to be popular. Julio Rodriguez. I saw some Carlos Correa. I saw some guys like that are kind of consistent, generally okay cash picks, top of the order type guys with some, kind of like multiple ways, high WOBA, high on base, multiple ways to maybe even steal some bases type guy. I would suspect those guys are going to be popular in cash games, but bear in mind on such a huge slate, 11 games, there's not really going to be very many super, super dominant people. So this isn't maybe the slate to really make some kind of a cash lock. You have to play this guy in cash type of call. I will say that some of the popular stacks are pretty obvious in the high implied run total guys where, but I'm going to let Razzle obviously dive in and do the tournament pivot stuff. So Razzle, all yours in terms of who your tiers are, who the stacks are that you may be most on and expect to have the most exposure to.
The first kind of going off a hitter ownership, like we have just 12 guys projected at 9% or higher. So, to be honest, I don't think you want to look at projected ownership for any batter on this slate. Stack wise, like for the first time this season, I believe, we're 40 days in roughly, just under. I only have one tier one stack team, and that's the Athletics. I realize there are a couple other teams with totals over 5, but there are enough holes that I can pick in them that they're going to end up in tier 2. Kansas City, they don't really have power, right? Minnesota, they've been a pretty lackluster offense overall. So to see them have such a high total is a little shocking.
I agree.
They're going to be tier 2 teams for me because the matchups show some upside. The Braves, another offense that's kind of been lackluster that have the strong team total. The Braves actually found themselves in tier 3 for me. I just think they're much stronger as a mini stack than a full stack. But it's just there's just so many teams that I can pick so many holes in that I really have a tough time trusting teams in my top tier. Like I almost went with Philadelphia in the top tier, and they have an implied team total of just over 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that ballpark. Home runs can happen with that team against a right-handed pitcher. So, if any team from my tier 2 was going to be forced to tier 1, it'd be Philadelphia, which I don't think people will go to as much.
You got anybody in tier 3? I know you mentioned those on occasion.
Atlanta, like I said, I moved them down. The Mets and Cubs, which have been a popular offense, they're in tier 3. I respect Gallen, who just dominated this Mets squad his last start. Now he faces them at home. And then the Cubs, like I mentioned with Colin Ray, I don't necessarily like the weather from a hitter standpoint. So I lean a little more pitching. Could backfire. But I think Verlander, let me see, has given up 5 home runs on the year, 4 of which have come by right-handed bats, when I think a lot of people are going to try to jam in the left-handed hitters from the Cubs. But obviously the one thing that I did note about the Cubs, and that does worry me, they have played 17 home games, which we know home games in April, generally pretty cold, windy, not the best offensive environments. Right. In those 17 games, they have 33 stolen bases at home. So they're going to, they are going to run when the weather dictates that, even more so. So that's kind of why they stayed in my tier 3. But yeah, those are 2 popular offenses over the last couple weeks that are in my lower tier that I probably end up underweight on. I haven't looked at our leverage sheet yet. So Baltimore, I think, might carry a little bit of ownership from Gunnar Henderson and some of the left-handed bats that are in tier 3. San Diego getting Jackson Merrill back I think you're tier 3. I prefer the left-handed bats for them because Clark Schmidt has actually dominated right-handed bats so far, even though he hasn't been that great overall. It's just been because he's been hit by lefties. And with San Diego getting Jackson Merrill back, they might have 5 of them in their lineup. I don't think it posted yet. At least I don't see it updated in the DS. But, I assume Jackson Merrill and then Gavin Sheets are the power bats, and then Luis Ariz, all contact, and then Tyler Wade, Jason Hayward are mediocre at best, but they're still left-handed in a park with a short porch in right field. So
I will tell you that when I was goofing with Domination Station earlier today, Ariz was coming in as a one-off quite a bit. And for tournaments and stuff, I'm not the biggest fan of him because his on-base percentage tends to be the same as his OPS. But other than that, I can see why it's popping. I can see why you kind of pulled him out and identified him as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be in the stack. Like,
for sure.
As a one-off, he's just not going to do enough. So he just has to be in a San Diego stack because he needs Tatis on second, and he needs to have Machado and Sheets and Merrill behind him driving him in when he is on base because he's also not stealing bases.
He might be the perfect example of a player that is kind of like a stack-only type of player, because what we'll say is that one-offs need to be able to stand alone and kind of break the slate. He doesn't do that. He does, however, feast off of if he has people on runner, on base in front of him. You can tally up some RBIs and some runs if you've got him in your stack. And if he has people behind him, he gets on base so damn much that he's going to score a run as other people bop him in from behind. So absolute perfect example of somebody that you might use as a major stack piece, but maybe not as a one-off or even in a mini stack if you can control it in other places.
Yeah.
Do you have any dong calls for tonight? I mean, I can think of a couple. I'm going to scroll through the starting lineups page. I'm going to let you lead off on there, and I might throw one or two in, but I'm sure you have them. I don't know if you have their prop price. I do not have prop pricing tonight.
I looked at them earlier, but I don't have them. Well, I do have them yet in front of me. I haven't refreshed. Cal Raleigh at plus 245, but that seems kind of easy against the lefty, even though he has struggled a little bit more this year against left-handed pitching. He just has plenty of power against them. Brent Rooker's a good bet in that game where Hancock actually has given up some power to right-handed bats. I think my down call on the day was Kyle Schwarber. I went back and forth on a number of different guys. Like, one of the guys that I thought was kind of surprising was Byron Buxton as plus 260 on DraftKings.
I noticed that too. In the DS,
a little low, but
DS threw him in there a couple of times. It was interesting. These are little guys you're mentioning that are popping off. I mean, I'll stay away from your normals like your Judges and your Tuckers and whatever else. We know those guys are always on the board. You might be able to back this up, or you might thwart it. I have no idea. Vinny Pasquantino has been pretty hot for Kansas City lately, as has Alec Burleson, back-to-back days with dongs in St. Louis. I bet you can get some decent prices on those two guys.
Let's see. Kansas City, Pasquantino is plus 550. Probably decent. I like the right-handed bats a little bit more in Kansas City. Sean Burke a little more reverse splits than traditional. You're not going to find me putting money on Alec Burleson because I'm not picking on Paul Skeens. Burleson is plus 950.
Yeah, well, there you go. The price definitely came up at Skeens, but the Cardinals have handed him his losses. They're the only team to score 5 runs off him. I'm not calling them as a GPP stack because Skeens is Skeens, but it's weird that they've sort of had his number. And if Burleson's actually hot at plus 950, that's a pretty sexy price for a dong call. So let's hope that one comes in. I'm going strictly off of heat of hitter, in that regard. But those would be my two for tonight.
Yeah, based on matchup previously, like Arenado at plus 1,000 might be stronger value. I kind of do like Wilson Contreras at plus 800 in that matchup, the way that he's been swinging it. But, they're long enough odds where a sprinkle can certainly
sure.
make sense.
For sure. Let's do the domination build. This is a new idea that I have. Unless you have other things on the slate that you want to cover, that you want to hand out to everybody, we've got a couple of minutes. We're running a little bit ahead of schedule. I don't think it's going to take too long to build the lineup. We'll probably spend more time on the VIP lineup contest. So do you have anything to put a bow on the overall slate that you might target that we didn't mention?
I mean, yeah, I'm trying to look. There's some interesting spots. Like obviously, I mentioned Colin Ray, Hayden Wesneski taking on the Brewers. Value wise, the Brewers have a team ISO of 0.79 over the last 7 games. They're averaging just 6 hits per game in over those 7. I think he has a double-digit strikeout game on the season. Kind of randomly, but he's one that I think could be sneaky as well. Overall, like I just have a lot of question marks about some of the offenses on this particular slate, which is weird to say, given that we're at an 11-game slate at this point.
Right.
But I mean, maybe that works out to our advantage. It does feel weird that I had to force in, 11 and 12 on my stack list to get to the numbers that I like. But hopefully it works out similar to last night. We almost took down 50K, so maybe I'll have another shot tonight to do something similar.
How close did you get?
Ended up 8th. I was in 3rd when I went to bed.
Yeah, it always sucks when you fall backwards a little bit. I like it when you wake up in the morning and you find out you actually climbed to the top.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to have a chance to get to the top, but I thought there was a chance I could finish 2nd or 3rd. But I mean, with that 50K up top, that would have been obviously super nice to wake up to. I mean, years ago I wouldn't have been able to go to bed. Now it's like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, whether I stay up or go to bed. So I might as well call it a night, and woke up to 1,500 instead of 10, 20K, 50K.
Yep, I agree. I've got let's see, what was I going to say? I'm forgetting the name. I'm forgetting the DFS Army member's name. We had somebody last night pop 7,500. I don't know if you saw that. That was pretty freaking sweet. So if you're in the chat right now, make a comment and stand up and be recognized, because I'm looking for the lineup and so I can't find it right now.
God, I don't even remember what contest that was in. Oh, that was Oyster Dude.
Okay. Well, there we go. He might be in here. Shoot. I mean, longtime member.
It's a pretty similar build to my main one that I had in the 111. He just managed to have Soto in it, and Bobby Witt. Well, I didn't have either of those guys. Yeah, pretty strong night. I just don't remember what contest that would have been in.
Yeah, I don't either. I didn't look that closely, but I just wanted to shout it out. I should have grabbed a screenshot and put it up here, but the screen sharing this thing is something I'm still working with, learning how to do. Let's play the lineup game. Let's play the lineup building game. I've got this is where things come in to play, and I'm going to need your help guiding through this a smidge. I need to lock Chris Sale as our pitcher, because that was who, if you guys notice out there on Twitter, I posted a couple of polls on the DFS Army account today. I asked for the kind of the chalkier pitchers and said pick one, and Chris Sale won. He was the most popular pick, so he's getting locked in the lineup. The others will be all up to Razzle or you guys or whatever you guys want to throw in there as we kind of build this lineup. Number 2 was the hitting stacks. I'm going to use Razzle's top tier teams, his top 1 and tier 2 teams, and being that he mentioned Philadelphia, they won along with the Cubs. So as a tie for the polling question, I'm going to throw Philly and the Cubs in here as the stacking options, as you can see down here in the stacking section. And so we're going to use those 5 teams. We're going to use Kansas City, Minnesota, Philly, Chicago, and the former Athletics, along with locking in Chris Sale. We're going to see what the DS does in terms of building 2 or 3 lineups with those main stacks, and what would you include pitching-wise, Razzle, based on that foundation, And how would you adjust the mini stack side of this thing? Did I lose you? Did I mute? Did you mute? I see your lips. I saw your lips moving. I don't hear you. There you go.
All right, now. Weird. I didn't realize it was still picking up my mic audio and not my AirPod audio. So,
gotcha.
Because those two the Cubs and Phillies are generally expensive, especially the guys that you definitely want to have in your stacks, like you're going to need to include Colin Ray and, Liberatore and maybe Wisniewski in the pitcher pool.
All right.
Especially locking in Sale. Like, you're probably not going to be able to go with Sale and Skeens or Sale and Wheeler.
So let's uncheck these guys. Let's check back Sale and lock him. And who are we talking? You said no Wheeler and Skeens.
I mean, so you can leave Wheeler in, but I just don't know that it's going to work.
Right.
Pricing
Well,
wise.
It might force us into some low-owned stack, some bottom of the order Minnesota thing or something, or low-priced stack.
Yeah, I mean,
how would you set it up if you were doing it? Would you leave those pitchers in there, or would you cut somebody out and then would you select your pitchers?
I mean, I eliminated a ton of pitchers, anyways. Like, my pitcher pool is 9 pitchers out of the 22 that are going tonight now.
I like the idea.
I control pitching so much more.
Okay, well, let's just, for the sake of being able to afford bats, maybe, and this is probably priced off of the course slate too, so we're getting a little bit of a bonus there. Let's eliminate Wheeler and Skeens. Who would you check back in of the rest of the group?
I mean, like Lugo, Wisniewski, Ray, Liberatore even. Like, most likely that's where your better lineups are going to end up coming from. I mean, obviously you can win with Sale and Wheeler and Sale and Skeens.
Sure.
But I still think to be able to get the guys that you absolutely want from a Phillies or Cubs stack, that you just have to go slightly down. Like, I mean, I like Michael King quite a bit, but he's more expensive than Sale. He's almost as expensive as Wheeler.
Yes,
so
a little more expensive than Lugo.
Yeah, more expensive than Pablo Lopez even. So my guess is, like, probably want to go Sale and then hopefully you get one of those cheaper pitchers in like Ray or Wisniewski right with them.
Okay. But if not, if it gives you Lugo, you're all right with that.
Yeah, I mean, Lugo's one of my favorite GPP pitchers on the slate because of his ownership number.
I'm hoping that people understand what you just said there, which was, if that's kind of what you're doing with Sale, instead of going double high on pitching, which, I mean, Sale's not super high priced, but in terms of ownership even or whatever, that you might differentiate, get a little bit lower, get some of those bigger bats in there. You might end up with a Yankee stack or a Mets stack or something like that on your own. Those teams are clearly not the 5 that I'm using on the main stack side, building 5x2, of course. How would you adjust the mini stack side of it?
I mean, the problem is I stack everybody on the mini stack side, so like pinpointing who to go with is really tough.
Well, would you be okay with, say, a Cubs and LA Angels mini stack?
Yeah, because there's home run upside. The Angels against Jose Urena, who's just a gas can, anyways.
Are there any teams that you would absolutely uncheck on the mini stack side? Being that, I mean, we don't have an hour to tweak players and do all that. This is just kind of a quick approach to show people the tool and whatnot. Is that just completely out of your realm and the way you do things that you're not, entirely comfortable?
It's out of my realm. Like, I mean, you're going to uncheck Cincinnati, like you have to, so that it doesn't error out or cause mistakes because you're locking in Chris Sale.
Mm-hmm. I probably wouldn't pick him up anyway, but yes, absolutely.
Well, no, it's just you can have some errors with the DS when you have something locked on one side and then the opposition on the other. So I experience it quite a bit when I'm running.
Okay. Let's do this. Who would you
in batches?
If I mirror both sides, if I mirror both sides, I've got the same 5 or 6 teams from the left as also on the right. Who would you add? You'd obviously add Mets, Arizona, Seattle,
I mean,
probably Atlanta.
like, I mean,
I'm just
like
trying to add them as
Toronto,
potential mini stacks. Toronto,
like Toronto, Seattle, Kansas City, Minnesota. Maybe the Cubs. Well, you have the Cubs as the main, so
right.
Maybe San Diego, because I'm starting to like the Jackson Merrill, Gavin Sheets combination.
I'm just thinking the same thing. We almost got to include Yankees just in case. It makes sense. We don't have to. I mean, I'm not putting White Sox in there. I'm not putting Houston probably in there. I know they could go off, but I mean,
the Yankees aren't in my main stack pool,
so put them in the mini side.
I mean, you can definitely have them on the mini, but I'm
Tampa?
just not planning on playing many of them. I'm not really playing Tampa Bay against Wheeler.
St. Louis or Pittsburgh?
I mean, they're going to be in my side.
Probably neither one of those.
I'd probably pull them. They're all in my pool. That's the problem with me trying to pinpoint who not to use, because
right.
I can't say nobody, because I'm literally 2 or 3% on every single team on that side.
Let's do it this way. I've got 10 teams or so checked, mostly the bigger offenses. We're not getting too sneaky with, Chicago or something like that tonight. So I'm comfortable kind of doing this and just kind of seeing what it does for a few lineups if you're cool with it. 3 uniques, I assume. Yeah, in tournament mode. I'm going to shift them up, mix them up a little bit. I'm not going to even use any randomness. I just want to see what this thing does. 3 to 5 lineups with those teams locked in that people generally think that either Razzle thinks is a good GPP play, or the pollsters feel is a decent situation with locking in sale. It's kind of an idea I had just to see how the tool builds, how quickly it builds, and the kind of combinations that it yields. It's obviously on it went 100% sale Lugo, which is interesting. It's got Raleigh in there at 4 out of 5 lineups. Jacob Wilson at shortstop for the A's. It's going on a lot of A's mini stacks. It's got Aaron Judge, and there's a one-off undoubtedly in a lot of cases. There's Buxton. It's got a lot of Athletics in there. It must have preferred an Athletics big stack too. Yeah, but that's all right. Being that they're your number one stack on the slate tonight, I mean that would kind of stand to reason. So the first lineup is Sale Lugo, and then we've got a 3-9 mini stack in Seattle, which is interesting. Miguel Andujar, he's not pulled into the lineup yet. I don't even think he's projected to be in the lineup tonight. Is he going to play, you think?
They've moved him back to third, and he started over Urshela, I think, recently at third base, so he might be. He offers more offense for them than Gio Urshela does at this point. So, his big breakout with the Yankees came as a third baseman, so maybe they're just going to rely on him. I'm not sure. The A's lineup's tough to predict with all the moving pieces they have now with extra outfielders and all that stuff. So,
but you'd be okay leaving him in there, right? I mean,
I'm okay with it. I'm pretty sure I dropped down his projection. So,
and I would say obviously double check before, and you might even have to late swap it if these things don't come out in the next hour, which they should. But if they don't, you might need to be ready to come back to it and make that pivot. So if you get somebody like that in your lineup, for people that are watching on screen, and it has no batting order number, or even if it does have a batting order number, you definitely need to come back and look for the green check marks at some point. Some source somewhere that shows a confirmed lineup. You need to double check those before those games start, because sometimes you can get surprised. But I got another A's stack here, another mini.
Yeah, actually, Andujar is in the lineup. So,
did it just go? Did it just confirm?
Yeah,
somewhere. Okay. Got more Seattle mini stack. This is a big Minnesota stack with Judge as a one-off. That's not the worst way to go. Another Minnesota stack. Didn't really play. It's really staying away from the high price guys. It's focused on the DS anyway. When we check those particular teams, is really focused on the Athletics on the big side and Minnesota on the big side, and then mini stacking Seattle, and then just putting in a one-off. So, I mean, that gives you a rough idea of how the tool is going to build. And so, I mean, with the limitations we put on it, of course, I think to me, I think that's handy. You guys, if you guys like that segment, shout it out. How do it as I scroll through some of the comments and stuff. Let us know if you like that kind of a build, or if there's a way that you might tweak it and you might, I guess, want to see something that would help you get to know the tool a little bit better, or maybe build a little bit better with the mind of Razzle here on the show. Those are the kind of things that I want to deliver to you guys. And we'll jump in. I don't see best stacks involved. Chuck's saying the A's, and according to the DS, now it's baseball. I mean, it goes, it can go wonky. We know that. But yeah, according to this, with we limited, we X'd out some teams, and being that we faded some teams, like we didn't put the Yankees on the big side, we didn't put Arizona or the Mets on the big side, or whatever, and that's where it went. Was out of the 5 or 6 teams that we chose, it was preferring Minnesota and the Athletics. So take that for what it's worth. Let's do the. I need sounders, and I need graphics. This is all stuff that's not my wheelhouse as a personality, but I need these things because we need to set this VIP challenge up here. I got where's Schmad? Hopefully Schmad's in here. He was the first one today, man. And boom, he hit me with a DM, and I know that we've gotten to know each other in the past, and being that people were waiting closer to lock like I directed, it's amazing that people actually listen to directions. So that's great. But Schmad hit me up. I'm going to see if I can get his lineup up here on the screen for everybody, and we're going to walk through it, and we're going to critique it a little bit, or tell him how awesome he is, or let's see, there it is. If that could actually, golly, we can't even see the thing. It's too big. I'll read the parts that are missing out to you. Let me go find those here really quick. In terms of full screen layout, will that do it? Nope. That did not do it. Pardon me. But I need to go through. I could tell you, I can find it on my phone. I was going to go find it in the PC, but I don't want to leave the screen. So let me find it in the phone. Get his DM. You guys can tag me in the MLB room. You can DM me. You can do whatever you want to do in terms of submitting these lineups when you want to. He's got Michael King and Paul Skeens as his pitcher. So, and this is a lineup he's submitting, and this is something that I would say go win a GPP with it. I mean, if you want to try to beat us, you're going to pare it down. You're going to be a little chalkier, be a little bit more high floor-ish or whatever. But he's clearly trying to bust this thing loose, which is what I want to see. King and Skeens as his pitchers, and then he went with a 5-man Baltimore Orioles stack. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, they in theory should break out at some point, but the problem is they've been cold and they're taking on Pablo Lopez. I feel much stronger about them as mini stacks, especially from the left side with like Gunnar Henderson and Jackson Holliday and even Ryan O'Hearn. But
he went different.
So for that, I'm not really huge on a guy like Mountcastle or Mayo. And then like Dixon Sider just pointed out, like Mullins struggling against Lopez, and Mullins is struggling quite a bit right now.
Yep, that's in his stack. He has, as you can see, he's got at the bottom, he's got Brian Reynolds as the one-off under Mullins. You can see the rest. Mini stack in Seattle with, I guess mini stack in Pittsburgh. There's one-off is Cal Raleigh. His Pittsburgh mini stack is Brian Reynolds, and then the little second base shortstop, Triolo. That's a very interesting build. It should be unique for sure. Is there anything that you would suggest he change, or would you just kind of be like, hope it works for you, man, let's go?
I mean, most likely I'm not hunting as hard, like Triolo. I just think he's been pretty rough. That just feels like going with somebody at shortstop that just fits no matter what. I rarely build that way, like I want the upside from every bat in my lineup, especially if I'm hand building. I can't control everything DS wise, like I can't scroll through 300 lineups and pinpoint edit, so I just have to go with it. But I mean, Kobe Mayo has struggled a bit too. So generally when that happens, like I end up coming off of whoever my one-off is and going cheaper to get some money, or obviously consider a pitching change too.
Yeah, I know I'm not in the habit of talking people off of anything myself. And I know what this means. I mean, I've been around this game long enough in baseball to realize what's getting ready to happen to us tonight, Razzle. You know where I'm going with this? He's going to kick our ass.
It'll happen. I mean, it could happen. I mean,
he's going to kick both our asses.
Triolo's 2 for his last 19.
He'll hit 3 bombs tonight.
Sure. I don't know if there's really a punt play at shortstop anyways that I like, but I don't really love. I mean, I don't really love that position from a value standpoint at all. Like I'm just spending up at shortstop. So to have a Baltimore stack but not have Gunnar Henderson, who's arguably probably their hottest hitter right now, or O'Hearn. I guess the 2 hottest hitters aren't in the stack at all. I can't see the last outfielder. I know you mentioned Reynolds, but the image on the screen, I can't see all 3 of them. So
yeah. Well, the outfielders, Mullins, O'Hearn, and Reynolds.
Oh, okay. So it does have O'Hearn, but not Gunnar Henderson in an Orioles stack.
No.
I generally put my money towards the 5-man stack first, and then I figure out around that.
This one's pitching cost prohibitive, being that he went with Skeens and King. That's what's going to obviously hold him back off the meat of a decent team 5-man stack in terms of like with high-priced bats in the 3, 4, 5 type spots.
Yeah, and I mean Cal Raleigh's taken up quite a bit as well.
But that's the one-off that can break the slate. That one I don't mind.
It definitely can.
So I'm not going to obviously value punt that one-off very often. Yeah, that's interesting. Any idea where you might go to counter him? I want to double check my own here. I don't have it finalized yet because I had a 3 stack of A's and I had a 2 stack. I went short because I'm a hybrid builder. I do a lot of 3-man league triple up type stuff where I'm not really always going massive 5x2. And tonight I kind of just went with that game stack kind of in a mini side of it so I could pick up a couple of other one-offs. I think I picked up a couple of Arizona guys or something like that. But either way, that's where I'm leaning, and I think I'm also using Sale as my pitcher. Is there anything that you would do to counter those ideas in some form of a head-to-head competition with Schmad?
I mean, first I'm gonna not use Mullins, and I'm gonna put Gunnar Henderson at shortstop because I want him as part of my Orioles stack more so than anything else. That creates a little bit more value opportunity in the outfield because we just have more options. Not that there's anything great down there, but you could go with Alexander Canario to pair with Brian Reynolds. So you keep your pit stack with a guy that has more upside than Triolo, and I think it makes your Baltimore stack stronger just by making that 2v2 swap. And then any other change is basically going to either come off of Skeens to a cheaper pitcher and then up from Mayo, or off of Raleigh and go up from Mayo. But Raleigh, I don't think you're going to pull enough money. You might have to come off of both, but that's generally the way I build is my 5-man stack and my favorite pitcher, and then I just kind of work with the last 4 spots trying to make sure I get my 2-man stack to fit, and then one of the pitchers that I like.
So if you were building a more or less single entry type of lineup tonight for us, where would you maybe start? Being that I'm kind of doing the whole mini stack thing, I want a higher floor because, again, I'm used to taking on like 3 and 5 people. I'm not trying to blow the roof off of it in terms of a large field GPP type of lineup that this is obviously built for. What would you do?
I mean, like in the scenario that we're in, like, yeah, I probably wouldn't fully 5-man stack, even though that's completely up my alley and my preference. I'd probably do multiple 3-man stacks with a couple one-offs, or at times I find myself, a 4-2 build with 2 one-offs. It's kind of dictated by slate and how you feel about predicting home runs from one-offs and that sort of thing. But
is this one you would go a little bit more expensive on that second pitcher? Like if you had, would you use Sale first of all, and second of all, if you didn't, would you still stay with like Wheeler, Skeens, or something like that?
I mean, I think I'd end up with Sale Lugo, to be honest.
Okay, even in this format where you want a little more floor?
Yeah, I mean, I feel so good about Lugo in that matchup without Lubob in the lineup for the White Sox that he's jumped up my board for me strong enough. I'd start there and try to put in my 2 favorite 3-man stacks or a 3-2 or whatever, and then you play around, and if you end up with money, then you can go back up from Lugo or whatever. But it at least gets you to the point where you feel really good about your lineup. And then, we obviously tell people to not overthink it. So when you're debating that, you're not trying to second guess yourself or anything. You're just looking at the combinations around it that make sense to you. And as soon as it's like, you know what, I feel good about it, then go with it and don't think about it anymore.
Amen to that. I hope that helps you guys understand a little bit of the competition, a little bit of using the tool and building with the DS. I got to get out of here, so we're going to call it. But down here's the banner scrolling for MLB Live for 10% off. Hopefully you guys got a little bit more out of this format today. I know that Razzle for VIPs has a sneaky GPP pitching core play in those cheat sheets. So you guys might want to dive in there and see that. And those of you that don't have access to the cheat sheets, I'm sorry, I guess. You guys need to use that code and get in here and get access to these guys round the clock, because you can hear the knowledge that he is spilling out to you as I ask him questions and we walk through these lineups and we walk through kind of the tools and things like that to help you guys understand more what DFS Army is about. For those of you that are already inside, you guys already know. But thank you, Razzle, for the time today, as well as all of the guys that piled in. We got up to 80 or so. I didn't see where the peak was, but hopefully it was over 100 for a little while. And let's keep the show growing on the positive side. We'll keep bringing more information, and we'll start playing fun games like this with everybody and having a good time here for, a half hour to 45 minutes. 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And with that, I guess we're out of here. Final words, Razzle?
Man, I still do not feel great about offenses, which is rough.
That just means you're going to smash.
Runs, but I mean, there's going to be runs scored. There's going to be home runs. I think Ballpark Pal was predicting 270 hits tonight in the game, so there's going to be hits. But not the best spot for me as far as picking out my offenses. I feel pretty good about pitching though at this point.
Well, here's a big thumbs up and good luck to you. As Dixon's pointing out, Dixon's our biggest cheerleader. Everybody hit that like button, subscribe, get that algorithm pushing this out to more people so we can grow this channel. And we will see you guys, I guess, at the top of the leaderboards, huh? All right. Take care, Razzle. I'll talk to you later this evening or tomorrow morning.
Sounds good.
See you, everybody.